Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar at iCabbi, the power of social media for your taxi fleet. So massive welcome to everyone who's joined us today. It is, in fact, our largest ever audience. And the reason being for that is that it's the first time we've opened up our webinars to people who aren't customers. So anybody who's joining us today, whether you're a customer who hasn't joined before, or you're just from the wider industry, you're very, very welcome. And we'll go easy on you and explain how our webinars start. So first off, for people who haven't met me, my name is Sinead. And of course, oh, there we go. Okay, so my name is Sinead Gillette. I work on marketing and communications for iCabbi. So I've had a lot of time over the last couple of years to meet our iCabbi customers and learn lots about the taxi industry. And one thing that I know people are very interested in is social media. So before I came to iCabbi, I owned and ran my own marketing agency, and we did a lot of work in social media, in particular for SMEs. So we dealt a lot with business owners themselves directly, or else the management team of those businesses. So as a business owner in the past, and as someone who's worked directly in social media, I really understand some of the challenges that people might perceive about social media, but also a lot of the benefits that are there for you guys to gain if you can take social media by the horns and really, really give it a good go. So lots of people here today will be doing social media. Some people will just have an account that is a little bit dormant. Some people will be absolutely nailing it. And I hope there is something for everybody. If you can even take one or two things away today, I will be delighted. And if it means getting started, just be aware that there is no right or wrong when it comes to social media. It's about your own brand, and it's all about learning as you go. There's no degree in social media management. It really is a case of trying things, and if they fail, so what, try something else, and if they work, brilliant, do it again. So don't worry, whatever level you're at, you'll find something here today to help you guys out. So as I said, we have a broad audience with us today. And so just for people who haven't joined a webinar before, customers or otherwise, just to let you know kind of where our webinar series began from. It started with the COVID-19 Customer Task Force, which we set up nearly 2 months ago now, as the coronavirus crisis, I suppose, took hold, and as cities and towns and countries went into lockdown, and our fleets, unfortunately, you guys will have all experienced this, so a massive drop off in bookings. So we were quick to act and bring together a customer task force, which I'm very happy to be a proud member of. And we've launched a number of initiatives. So if you guys haven't seen these yet, please just have a quick look at what we're offering in case you're missing out on any of these. So obviously we've got our payment window, and we've had, I think it's 98% uptake on that. And obviously, why not? It's free, and there's no deferral. It is just free for those 2 months. So there's no deferring that payment later on. We have launched our webinar series, which you guys are in today. We've also got Optimize with Andy G. Andrew George, who works on Dispatch, has been doing lots of videos and also some webinars on how to optimize your fleet. A bit more on the technical side, but there are links available to all those videos if you want to pass them on to the technical person or the operations person in your business if they haven't seen them. And we have our COVID-19 resource hub, which has content for customers and also for the wider industry. So lots of articles, ebooks, guides, and open webinars as well. We've also launched a number of product initiatives. So the collect and deliver feature on the passenger app, which is we're seeing actually across lots of different passenger apps, and of course it's on our own as well, which is being greatly appreciated by customers, and it's great to see people rolling that out. Our Voice Plus, we have a special offer on that at the moment, which gives you 2 months free, and that is to give you advanced IVR. So that's really useful when you're working with a reduced staff at the moment, to be able to defer some of those calls over onto sophisticated IVR that really does help you to manage that. You know, staff are working on lots of different areas at the same time, whereas previously they might have been focused on one task. Our passenger app as well, we have an offer on that, and Insights Premium. We have an Insights Free, so absolutely all customers have that, but please do avail of Insights Premium 2-month free offer, because there are tons of metrics that you can use, and we're calling them survival metrics at the moment, but soon, very soon, or maybe not so very soon, but at some point they will be thriving metrics, let's hope. So do have a look at Insights Premium and play around with it. And if you want any more information on any of those initiatives, customers, you know where to go to. So it kind of look like an iCabbi boy band or man band over there, but our customer success team, and I'm looking at our list of attendees. Yeah, I think they're all here actually. So hi guys. So you've got Frank and Glenn and Ted and CBT Chris, and then two fellas at the bottom there, Wayne and Michael. So guys, you all know who your customer success rep is. And if you haven't seen any of those offers or want help with that content, or if you want to talk to Andy G even around some of his optimization, just get in touch with your customer success rep. And anybody else who wants information on iCabbi, you can contact one of our sales team. So you've got Tom and Richard in the UK and Andrew Morton, who has been a bit of a celebrity of our webinars recently. So a lot of you guys will be familiar with him. He looks after the North American market for us. Okay. So let us crack on with our webinar today, the power of social media for your taxi business. So first off, I'm going to walk you guys through setting up your social media strategy. Quite simple, but just some general rules or some kind of just how to get started or what to think about at the beginning. After that, my favorite is to be clever with content. So I'm all about content, whether it's as simple or starting to get very creative or imaginative, but that really is probably my favorite part of marketing. So we'll be moving into that section next. I'll then be joined by David Hunter, who a lot of you guys might know. He is the CEO of ADT in Leicester, and himself and his partner Ashley, so it's Ashley David Taxis, they're quite cheeky chappies, so they have a lot of fun with their content on social media, and David is going to join me today to specifically talk about video. They use a lot of video in their social media, and he's going to share some of their case studies of things that they've done and just some tips that he has for you guys either starting out or optimizing what you currently have. After that, then a little bit of ground rules, so some best practices for your social media, some do's and don'ts there, which you can take them or leave them. They're just there to guide you a little bit, and then we will talk about optimizing your social media strategy. So there's 4 areas in that, and we will whiz through that because I'm very excited to have Claire Welsh from Wellman Cars in Hamilton joining us today. I don't know if you guys are active on social media or not yet, but if you are, you'll no doubt have come across Claire because she is absolutely the queen of social media for the taxi industry. So no better woman to come on and explain to us what she does, how she does it, and why she does it, and in particular to talk about what Wellman Cars have been doing during COVID-19 and how that's coming across on social media. So once Claire has shared that with us, we will invite David back and we will go into our Q&A session. So as you know, or as you may not know, but I'll tell you now for our newcomers, our webinars try to be as interactive as possible. So we really appreciate your questions coming in. At the bottom of your screen in the middle, you'll see 2 kind of dialogue boxes there. That's the Q&A section. So pop a question in there during my presentation or David's, or when we're chatting with Claire. So whenever you come across a question that pops into your head, just pop it down there and we will try as much as possible to come to your question live then at the end when we have our Q&A panel. But I'm anticipating quite a lot of questions coming in on social media. So if we don't get to your question, I will respond to you separately after the webinar, and possibly I might even put together an FAQ list of all the questions that have come in, minus your name. Don't worry, I won't publish your name, and share that with the wider group then afterwards. So please be forthcoming with your questions, because if you're thinking it, there's absolutely no doubt that someone else has the same question. So you are doing everybody a favor. Okay, so let's get started with our social media strategy. What I would like to start by saying to you guys is that a lot of people have a preconception about social media, and they just might not like it personally. So back when I owned my marketing company, we delivered a lot of social media training into companies. And often this was packaged as part of a wider business program. So, an 18-month business management program, and I'd come in and do social media training. And invariably what would happen is that I would ask people what they thought of social media and how they were using it in their business. And I'd have a few hands go up and say, I just don't like it. I hate social media and I don't want to use it. And that's fine. Like that's a personal view. But the problem is that if you're not using social media for your taxi business, you are doing your taxi business a disservice. So you need to be on social media. And the reason you need to be on social media is because it is absolutely pervasive across the world. So we're looking at about 3.5 billion people on social media, increasing by about 9% year on year. And about 44% of the population have a social media account or a social media user. So they might not all be fully active, but they do have these accounts. And this is actually much higher in the regions where you guys are all from. So in the USA, we're looking at 70%, and in Canada and the UK, neck and neck there at 67%. So your customers are on social media, and the golden rule of marketing is that you need to be where your customers are. And by customers, I do mean passengers, but also your drivers, because social media is as much about acquiring and retaining those drivers as it is about acquiring and retaining your passengers. So important when thinking about your social media strategy, whether you're just starting out or whether you want to give it a revamp, or maybe you're here today just to know enough about social media so that the person who manages it for you, that you can actually have a informed conversation with them and have a little bit of a knowledge to be able to question them and to challenge them and to encourage them to grow that audience for you. So some of the things you might get from social media are quite simple. You can grow your passenger base, you can increase your bookings, you can encourage downloads of your app. You know, this is a digital platform, so that's one thing that you really want to be doing. Brand awareness is absolutely critical to any taxi business, because you want to be the taxi company that comes to mind when someone is stuck in the city centre, or they're coming home from their shopping trip or their night out. Who am I going to call, or whose app am I going to go to? So you want to be that taxi company that jumps to mind. And right now, during the COVID-19 crisis, there may not be that many people on the streets or looking for rides, but you still want to make sure that when they come back out and they start needing taxi services again, that you're the one that is front of mind. So brand awareness is probably more important now than ever. And if all you can do during COVID-19 is to stay in front of your passengers and keep them thinking of you, and hopefully thinking well of you even better, then that's a good thing to do right at the moment. Social media is also useful for information. So if you want to let your drivers know about something that's upcoming, they need to know as much as your passengers. If you've got a new feature on your passenger app, or if you've enhanced Drive Your, or whatever it is, or maybe you're offering a discount, your drivers need to know all this information too. And showing your drivers that you are actively encouraging bookings, and that you've got a really good customer base, that you're doing promotions, and that you're encouraging activity in the community. That's all great for driver retention and actually to attract new drivers as well. So lots of reasons why you want to be on social media. And you know, these will change at different times during the year, because obviously sometimes you have too many drivers, not enough passengers, demand, supply, and vice versa. So we'll see how that kind of goes. I briefly want to talk about the main social media channels that I see being used for taxi at the moment, and we'll just run through these. I'm sure you'll be familiar with all the names anyway, but maybe you're not on all of these. So Facebook is hands down still the most important channel for your taxi fleet to be on. I've spoken to a number of customers in preparation for this presentation, and Facebook is king according to all of them. So it's hands down still the largest social media platform out there. It's probably about twice as big, 2.5 times as big as any other. It has gotten a little name recently for being for the oldies, or for the over 40s, and it's getting a little bit dated. And I think that's probably less to do with the fact that it's, you know, it's because it's so big as a platform that it actually encompasses many ages. And maybe it's just a case of younger people are also gravitating towards other platforms, but they tend to still be on Facebook as well, because it's quite family based. So you will access an audience on Facebook that maybe might be harder to reach with an app otherwise, because they are that older generation that are harder to download, and they're on Facebook. So it really is a great place for you to be. It's also searchable. So if I'm a tourist, for example, and I'm hanging out in Dublin and I type in taxis in Dublin, the taxi companies in Dublin will come up, their Facebook pages will show in a search. So that's really useful for you too. And that's down actually quite a lot to the local business feature. So there's lots of stuff you can put up there, your maps, your locations, reviews, information about the company. It's really attractive for local businesses to be able to promote themselves that way. It also has great CTAs, so you can have a book now button where people can click straight on. You can send direct links to passenger apps and stuff through your messenger. You can automate that as a response as well. And the advertising on Facebook is really can be a gold mine for people who are, you know, about the right content and how to target it. So Facebook ads, and actually at the moment, are really cheap, so it's a great time to be doing them. So the little sister of Facebook is Instagram. Instagram is the fastest growing social media network. It's also the network where you get the most engagement compared to your followers. So 1,000 followers on Instagram, you'll get more engagement than 1,000 followers on Facebook. That said, Instagram is extremely image based. So you do need to be thinking about what quality of photographs that you're putting up, and to bring together a consistent style, and for your photographs to always be appealing and attractive and stylish in some way. So for that reason, some people shy away from it. It has tended to be for the younger generation, but then that younger generation has now grown up with Instagram, so it is becoming broader and broader. And the advertising on Instagram is also excellent because it's connected to your Facebook ads manager, so you're running it out of the same place. And there's some really good features on there about advertising within the local area. So if, for example, there's a football game going on, you'll be able to advertise on Instagram to everybody within 100 or 1 kilometer radius of that football game, which means that you can totally target people in terms of need a ride home after the match, that kind of stuff. So local advertising is excellent. Twitter is another one that some of our taxi fleets use and some of them don't. It's great for real-time social media engagement. I think this is a platform that is particularly good for people who enjoy social media. So people who are active on there anyway and are used to joining in conversations and joining threads. So this is brilliant if you guys want to have an active presence, and maybe you're commenting on the local traffic, or again, maybe you're affiliated with a football club and you're commenting on a match and you're getting engaged in those kind of conversations and you're using hashtags to join those. It really is information and commentary based more so than image based, although you will use images on it. And you can do kind of fun things with news as well. So this is kind of the home, certainly the birthland of the hashtag. So this is where you can jump on a hashtag and maybe leverage off it. So whether it's a particular like weather event or something like that, or maybe something fun in a celebrity, you'll be able to use that hashtag. People searching for it will come across your post if you've used it, and you can do some really fun stuff there if you've got the imagination for it, and also the speed, because that's all about reacting quickly. And finally, we have LinkedIn. I think this is more popular with our UK customers than it is with our North American customers, but really LinkedIn is where you go for your B2B marketing. So if you're big on account work and you want to find more corporate accounts and show your company off to be very professional and to be a very solid service there for that, LinkedIn is a great place to do it. I would say that your LinkedIn account as a business is quite hard to gain traction on. So your LinkedIn personal profile is actually a much easier mechanism for you to make connections there. And I guess it's just that business is about people and people want to see people. So you might have, A to B taxis on LinkedIn, but actually the CEO, say Laura Cole, actually ends up having way more connections and getting a lot more reach when she posts. So that's something to be mindful of, that if you're going to be on LinkedIn, you're as well to be on LinkedIn as your personal brand than you are as your company, because that's where you're going to reach out and get those connections. And just be mindful that LinkedIn is a separate social media platform to Facebook. So keep all the fun stuff, well, not all the fun stuff, but keep all the personal stuff for Facebook and keep it a bit more professional on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn photograph, for example, is your head and shoulders, probably inside, and your Facebook profile photograph can be you with your sun hat and your bikini and your 3 dogs and your cocktail. And that's not really a LinkedIn photograph. So just bear that in mind. And LinkedIn really can be great for you if you're pursuing the business side. Okay, so which ones should you be on? I would say that taxi companies are quite lucky in the sense that many of the other businesses I worked with before have been very, very niche. So specifically looking for new homeowners or new mothers, or maybe it's a particular 1970s interest in comic books, and therefore you need to go to a very specific nook and cranny of the digital world where you're going to find these kind of people in a very small cohort. Taxis are used broadly by a lot of different people. And so something like Facebook is going to be great for you guys, but it's also important to be able to think about the different target groups within your customer base that you want to focus on. So for example, you might be in a university town and you want to service the student community. So therefore, maybe you've got an offer on student night and you want to promote 10% discount on student night and get lots of activity on those quiet nights like Tuesdays or Wednesdays. So maybe if you're really targeting students, you want to be on Instagram as well as on Facebook. Likewise, if your business is predominantly or really wants to go after a business community, then you absolutely need to be on LinkedIn. So think about who you want to target, what you want to target them with, and when and where you need to do this. And what I would say is that you will need to be on more than one social media platform, definitely Facebook, and then choose the others that are appropriate to what you're looking to do. And to be conscious that you shouldn't just put the same content across all channels. You should tweak it a little bit for the audience. Okay, so my favorite part, being clever with content. And yeah, I think that's kind of ironic that we have a typewriter here because it's absolutely all about digital content. And I had one of those when I was very, very young and haven't seen one since I was about 10. Okay, so first thing about being clever with content, and this really is a rule that you need to instill in yourself or whoever is looking after your social media. 80% of your content should be about engaging your followers, and 20% should be promotional. So, this is a good point to start thinking about your social media followers as an audience and stepping back from thinking about them solely as customers. So, the point of creating great content is to build the audience so that when you've earned their trust and they like your stuff, they're much more receptive to that promotional content that you plug into them. So, 4 out of 5 posts should be giving value, maybe entertaining, something nice, or very, very soft, just about your business or about your drivers. And 1 out of every 5 posts can be download our app or get use this discount code, but it shouldn't be sell, sell, sell. And if you think about that from your own experience as a consumer, or as a reader, for example, you don't buy a newspaper to open the front pages and just read ad after ad after ad, and you don't turn on the television just to watch commercials. So newspaper ads and commercials are a byproduct of the really, really good content that people invest in order to be able to put those ads in front of you. Okay, so think about that when you are planning your social media content. Don't oversell. No one likes a pushy sell, but once you've warmed up your crowd and you've built your audience, you'll find that they actually click on those links a lot easier because they really trust your brand and they're happy with you. So being local as a taxi fleet is hands down the biggest advantage that you guys have as a brand. So this is what separates you apart from the rideshare giants, so Uber and Lyft or Free Now or whatever you have in your market. They simply cannot be local in the same way that you guys can. They don't have a legacy in the community. They don't have, in some cases, 30 or 40 or 50 years legacy of a family business. They don't have that office block that people have gotten used to seeing, or the little taxi base. They don't have family roots. The people who own the taxi fleets, you guys, and the people who manage them are all living in the community. So this is your community and you care about it. And so being local absolutely should be front and center of everything that you do with your brand. I can't stress that enough. People love local. So if you think about your own experience and you're looking at stuff online, it's the further away it is, the less you care about it, and the closer it is, the more you do. So if you're going through social and you see your own local school that you went to when you were younger, and you're like, oh, what's that? That's going to draw you in far, far more than just a generic picture of a building somewhere halfway across the world. So being local is crucial for catching people's attention, but it's also crucial for sharing how much you care about what's happening in the community. And we see this all the time. Taxi companies, you guys sponsor the local football team, you give to local charities, maybe you participate in the local half marathon or whatever charity events or whatever that is, local festivals. You're always there, you're always involved, and you've always been generous in giving to these. And so it's important that you share that and make sure that your taxi company is associated with being part of the community, because people really want to give to a local business. I know I always want to choose a local business ahead of anybody else if I can. And if I know they're credible and love their customer service, I will do that. So you guys do it a lot, and no more so than over the last 2 months, as we have seen so many fleets share stories about what they're doing to help their communities during COVID-19. I could do an entire presentation of just going through our customers one by one and sharing the different stories that I'm seeing on social media or hearing about through our customer success team or reading about in the news. And it really is commendable. So well done, everybody, because it's a very difficult time for business owners, and to be able to find the generosity to reach out and help others at a time like this is really, really commendable. So fair play to you guys. A couple of examples here from our North American customers. Hamilton Cars there in Canada, they are taking part in giving free Meals on Wheels out to OAPs in the community. And likewise, we have our friends Scott and Judy Potter there, Black and White Transportation in Toledo, and they are doing something similar as well. Their post says, "This is community." And you're right, guys, that is community. congratulations on those initiatives. I'm sure your communities really appreciate it. And whether they're taking taxis at the moment or not, hopefully, those gestures that you've given now will stay in people's minds when it comes to getting back out there again. And you've kind of earned that trust, and what you do now can actually build bridges long into the future. So being local and sharing how local you are is a really great thing to do. And don't just support charities and other events. Your business community is also important to you. So if there's a cafe down the road that you go to and they're celebrating their 30th birthday, give them a shout out. If there's a local hero who's done something really well, you're proud of that as a community member, share that too. Everyone will get behind that, and you're just building that community. And actually what you become, you're not just plugging the community, you're becoming a community builder. So keep looking at the community. So your own community is the people who work for you guys and the people that drive for you guys. And there's nothing more attractive, even if they're ugly, there's nothing more attractive on Facebook or Instagram than a face. So we're naturally drawn to people. We're drawn to seeing people's faces, and immediately we want to know, what are they doing? What are they doing in that photograph? Why are they doing it? And especially if it really is a photograph that you recognize the people in. So use the people in your team as much as possible to help promote your business. And I don't mean promote as in get them to say, please download our app, but what's happening in your business behind the scenes. Maybe someone's celebrating a special birthday. Maybe one of your drivers has just graduated from college, but share those stories about your business and use those people to help you to tell the story of what goes on in your taxi company, because it is absolutely golden content. I have a couple of examples here. One of them is our own. It's iCabbi on St. Patrick's Day. Now, not this year, because this year we were already moving into a lockdown over here in Dublin, but last year. So this was just a bit of fun that we decided the day before in the office that we'd come in wearing green. And so we snapped a few photographs of different members of the team. It's a bit small, but so there's Gav there. If you see, he's actually on the back of our CFO Barry there as usual. He's getting a backer from finance. So there's a few other people there that you might recognize from CX and some of our support team as well. But that post was really simple, didn't take us long to do, but went absolutely crazy on Facebook. And we had over 807, I think 800, I can't see it, 848 likes in the space of about 24 hours on that post. And it was really, really simple, but people just love seeing people that they know. And anytime we put up our customer success boy band, they always get a great reaction on social media because everyone's familiar with them too. Here's an example from Claire, who's joining us later on. Claire is big on family. The Wellman Cars is a family business, and she's created a family community feeling to her social media. But this post here, which is the Wellman family then and now, this was one of Claire's top posts last year. So the Wellman family then and now is Claire and Frank, if you know Claire's husband Frank, their kids, but also their nieces and nephews. So I don't think the kids were asked their permission for this, which isn't necessarily advised, but they're family. So you own them, Claire, you can do what you like. But this actually got loads of attention. And what this did was it started conversations, which is what you want your social media posts to do. So what happened was Claire had lots of customers and drivers trying to guess which of the kids were her and Frank's or which of them weren't. And then unfortunately, taking features from Frank and trying to say, it must be that guy because of the big nose or whatever, the big eyebrows or whatever. So lots of conversation started around that, and even a bit of nostalgia when people who were passengers of the business said that they remember phoning, 15, 20 years ago when Claire was on maternity leave and it must have been that kid and all that kind of stuff. So again, a really nice way of showcasing the fact that they're a family business without having to put up a big sign saying we're a family business. So really great post from Claire there. Okay, so another thing that is critical for your social media is to remember that social media is really just a means of communicating. But what you put on there is generally going to be stuff that happens outside of the digital realm. So it's going to be events that take place in your office, whether it's someone's birthday or whether someone again is celebrating something very, very special. But you need to think about it. How can you create moments that are then going to, do really well and gather some currency for you on social media? And how can you amplify stuff that you do outside of the digital realm by putting it on digital and really getting more bang for the investment that you put in it? So there's a couple of things that you can think about. So what kind of events or moments can you put together that are going to encourage people to take a snap and put that on social media? What gestures can you do, or what can you give? people love free stuff. So what can you do there? How can you get into the news? So typical old school PR is really important, and you can share that. Or how can you use your assets, such as your taxi base or your vehicles, even to again promote people sharing that content out there. So here, that picture there on the right hand side is a picture of a car, a London black cab, which is all decked out for Pride. I think I'm not sure if that one is Addison Lee, but I know Addison Lee did this a couple of years ago as well. But it's a great way to show people that, first of all, that you support Pride, but also it's to stand out, because who doesn't want to get in that taxi, or get their photograph taken in that taxi, or be seen arriving out of that taxi when they are going to Pride. So that's a great way of taking an offline PR initiative and then using it to gain traction then online. You can jump on all of those hashtags associated with Pride or particular Pride marches in your local town and do stuff like that. And you can do that with tons and tons of other things as well. So say, for example, although we don't really have any of it going on at the moment, but jumping on a local sports success, or even a large scale sports success, and particularly if you're a fan of a club yourself as a taxi fleet owner, why not really get behind that? So say, for example, Manchester City, my husband supports them, so I'll use them as an example. They win the league, and as a celebration, you get an ice cream van and you go to a really dense Man City supporters area and you give out free ice creams, and say you have dropped in some light blue colouring into those cones, so everyone's got light blue ice cream cones free from Manchester cabs, just purely in celebration of the fact that Man City have won the league. That is something that people are going to want to share, and it won't actually cost you that much. So people will be sharing that, and plus you can use the hashtags associated with the football as well. So think about opportunities for you to create stunts, or to get involved in local festivals to get people sharing their content. So photo walls are a great one. Maybe there's a local fete or something like that, and you just get a backdrop that might have your taxi company name on it, and maybe just a silly circumstance that people want to jump in front of, because these days people love their photograph being taken, particularly on Instagram. So it's a great one for younger audiences to share that. So think about things that you do. And if you are stuck on ideas, I would recommend to talk to Paul, our friend in City Taxis, who's pulling this stuff all the time. Everything from Santa sleigh type cars to appearances in pantos and stuff like that. So there are some great PR stunt guys out there in the taxi business, and keep an eye out for them. As I mentioned before, getting into the news is also a great way of creating content that you can then share and get legs on social media. So loads of examples of this over the COVID-19 period. The first one here is very close to home here. That's Link Taxis, our friend Noel Ebbs and co in Dublin. And they actually made national papers. So that's the Irish Times, which is our biggest selling paper in Ireland. And that's a story about them offering delivery to support their local business communities during coronavirus very early on. Actually, that was back, I think, in March. So very early off the blocks there. And here's a local example. This is Blue Line Taxis. So that's Tom and Ian and Ben, who some of you guys might know, and they've done tons of initiatives on COVID-19. And there's more than a few press articles in the local press about what they're doing in terms of their NHS fund and different delivery initiatives that they've launched there as well. So old school PR, getting into the news, all that stuff to share is really, really great. What about when you're just tired of creating all this content yourself and doing all the fuss? It is quite easy to get people to create it for you. And all you need is a little bit of imagination here. So competitions are brilliant for this. Taxi companies generally, when I see, are doing competitions, which is like and share and comment this post. But if you give it a bit more imagination, you might be able to create a bit more magic to your competitions. And what I would say is to try and think of user generated content. So you're asking people to do something and take a photograph of that to share online with a particular theme. So this here is a snowman competition, which really shouldn't be relevant right now. But I was talking to some of our Canadian customers only last week and it was snowing. So I guess they could probably still get away with doing something like this, but hopefully not for too long. But if for example, you're in a town that doesn't normally see that much snow, that's a really exciting time for people, and it really becomes quite viral on social media. So why not jump on that, request everyone to send in their best snowman competition, give them something to do and share, and then you'll be able to share all those images as people tag you in your competition. And then you can even jump on it later on. You know, once you've announced your winner, you can poke some fun and say, oh, here are a load of people that froze while waiting for a cab. They should have phoned XYZ cabs or whatever. So you can have some fun with it. But you can kind of do user generated content for loads of different things. So back of cab selfie competitions is a good one as well. And in which case you'd have the drivers encouraging people to do it. And you might even have an incentive for the driver whose car it was taken in. Halloween is great because people are dressed up. So the content is just waiting to happen. So maybe you have a taxi to hell Halloween competition where people are dressing up and taking their photographs, and you're voting on that as well. So find ways that you can have a bit of fun on social media while still getting a mini plug in for your taxi company, but that it's creating all that content for you and you don't have to do anything for it. So once you have created this audience, you've built some quality content, you've got people talking, you're not being overly heavy on selling your material, you've now earned the right to actually be a bit more promotional. So you've done 80% work, and now you've got 20% where you can be more promotional. So that's, you know, where you're going to say, here is we're launching a new passenger app, or maybe in this case here, we have a new collect and deliver feature on our passenger app as we do in iCabbi. You know, hey guys, don't be careful, don't leave the house. We can collect it for you. All you need to do is this, that, and the other. Click here, download, get involved. So that's a time then when you can start making those kind of promotions. And at this stage, they're going to be much better received from your audience. And of course, that's a really standard looking post there, but you can be very creative with your promotional material as well. It's not a case of be fun and useful and helpful and good crack with your other stuff and then have some very bland newspaper style print ads when it comes to the promotional post. You can kind of really bring that as far as you want to go depending on your brand. So maybe you're more caring and you've got a photo or a video of a driver you know, delivering his first collect and deliver package, and he's explaining how you can do it, and he's delighted to be out meeting people in the community, and that's a really nice human element to it. Or maybe you want to do a funny kind of series where you might have photographs of people who are making a balls of doing stuff at home. So, you know, lots of people are looking to do DIY at the moment. They've all this time in their hands, or they're looking to paint. So maybe you have someone painting with a banana, or trying to hammer with a banana, and it's like, you want to get into DIY but just don't have the right tools. Don't worry, we collect and deliver from Riley's Hardware. So you can do a whole series of that, you know, and have some fun with it too. Depending on your brand, you can have lots of fun. But there is no better person to speak to us about having a bit of crack on social media and being a bit playful than David Hunter, who's going to join us now. So hello, David. How are you?
Very good afternoon to you, Sinead. Wonderful.
Very good afternoon to you, David. So I did refer to yourself and Ashley as cheeky chappies earlier on. I hope you don't mind that, but I know you've been slagging Claire on social media, telling everyone that yourself and Claire are going to be the Phil and Holly of today's webinar.
Yeah, definitely Phil and Holly. Obviously, my sexuality is slightly different to Phil. And for those in America that don't know Phil and Holly, they're daytime TV presenters, and Phil's recently come out. So fortunately, I'm still happily married, but, you know, open to offers.
I think you're definitely looking for a career in television. There's some, I don't think you're sharing them in today's presentation, but there is a video of yourself and Ash going around delivering food packages during COVID-19. And you're kind of a bit like Ant and Dec now, who are another famous television duo in the UK. So I think there's certainly aspirations there.
Yeah, I think we had a misvocation, somehow ended up owning a taxi company for our sins. But no, we enjoy it. And what we try to do in our social media is to present some of our personalities. You mentioned the lovely Claire, who's coming up after me. My impression of Claire, I've only met her a few times, but it's very much a family business, and that shows in her social media. Whereas we try to engage with our customer base by showing some of our personality and generating reaction, which is what social media is all about.
Exactly. So David, I don't know if you spotted this, but I did actually share a video of you about 2 hours ago on LinkedIn, purely because you're here to talk about video today. So we have quite an archive of videos in iCabbi, and I was just looking through it to see what I had on David, and I pulled one out of you last year. Actually, the video that was taken was actually my second ever day working in iCabbi. So I was a total newbie, and I was completely faffing that I knew anything about taxi. But you were telling us your story of how you came to iCabbi and your experience with iCabbi. So you're one of our oldest customers well, not our oldest customers, but you're certainly with us a good 4 or 5 years. And you've trebled your business since coming to iCabbi. Is that right?
That's correct. No, it was a revolution when we first came across iCabbi, and the only reason we found you is because at the time we we were on the Mercury system, and we were combining offices together by doing dialing and so on. But they were digging up the road near us, and we kept having power cuts, which knocked out not only that office but the other office in Leicester. And we were using those battery savers, and it was just a nightmare. So we just had to find something in the cloud. And I think it was a company in London, iCabbi Cars, we went to see, and I was just blown away by the cloud technology. So, and in fact, you know, it has enabled us to expand. We've loved the partnership, the integrity of iCabbi. So it's been brilliant, yeah.
Well, you've been great customers, not just for giving us lots of nice feedback there, but also for helping your fellow iCabbi peers here. And before you came into the taxi business, you actually worked in marketing, and so you are going to lead us through a short presentation on the power of specifically video marketing. So if you want to take over the reins from me, David,
Yeah,
you can take it away.
I'm just hoping I've got going to share the right screen here. It could be embarrassing. Let's go. Oh, that worked quite well, didn't it? Yeah, it's my first webinar, so let's just pop that up.
There you go.
So there we go, brilliant. That worked. The power of video marketing by myself. Okay, so as Sinead brilliantly put there, social media is about engagement and reaction. It's three-dimensional. So in the old days, we would have advertised in local newspapers, on the radio, or leaflets, which was very two-dimensional. With social media, it can work in real time. Now, we've been on social media since it began, really, with ADT. Back in the day, I think it was just little statuses. It was all about the status, wasn't it? A few bits of text. And then, obviously, it became more picture-orientated, which was great for engagement and reaction. And then recently, it's become very video-focused. So we've kind of moved along with social media as it's developed. Now, the beauty from our point of view with video, we can be video stars, we can be Phil and Holly, as Sinead mentioned there, but it's very cheap to produce. You don't have to have a full-scale pop video type product out there. Most video can be shot on a smartphone. There's editing software on a smartphone. So, and it can be fun. It can be hit and miss. Some of it works, some of it doesn't, but have fun doing it. And you soon work out what works and what doesn't, and what you should say and what you shouldn't say. But I like video because it is three-dimensional. Doesn't, you know, some of the adverts you see across the country on social media do look like just normal display adverts. But I like video because it brings an extra depth to your brand. The video doesn't have to be about booking a taxi. It can be on any subject, but enhances your brand. It could be a service to the community. But as I say, it's cheap. We've tried it on Twitter. Twitter is amazing. Like Sinead said, it's more working in real time. But we found when we run competitions with video on Twitter, we've had an 83% growth. We've now got per month in some cases. We're now up to 9,352 followers, and we're getting a reach of 240,000 people per month on there, which is kind of the same sort of reach your local newspaper used to have back in its day. So, video marketing of. So if a picture can tell 1,000 words, so this is kind of a normal kind of advert you'd have running on Facebook. You know, download your app. We've got the wonderful Ride app. But so you're trying to encourage people to download it with a call to action. But what can a video tell us? So here we have Gordon Ramsay, but not the Gordon Ramsay, obviously. Our budget doesn't go to that. We're only local, we're not Uber. So this is a Gordon Ramsay lookalike. This video cost us just over 300 quid to make. It went out in December, and it's to encourage people to download the app. So within the first week, it's received 36,000 views with no boosting. Now, some videos, you probably need to just spend 20, 30 quid boosting them. Other videos will just naturally get a reaction because instantly you see that and you see Gordon Ramsay. So it's eye-catching. And this content can be used over and over again. You can re-edit it. So for that 300 quid, which is about the cost of a display advertising in your local paper, can be used over many years, re-editing, freshening up, and so you get maximum bang for your buck value there. So let's just have a look at Gordon.
Oh, come on, really? Yes! What are you doing? Yes! Right, I told you, book me a taxi, yes? Using the ADT taxi app. I mean, what is so about that, big boy? Right. Oh, do you know what? I'll do it myself. Right. Here we go. Good. Point. Good. So, there we go. Right. How simple that guy is, yes? And you know what? The ABC app saves you time and money. There's even a discount code on the taxi app. Yes? So come on, guys, really? It's a no-brainer. Yes? Book your next taxi with ADT. Come on, guys. Download that app. Right. Oh, I'm bored. I'm getting...
Okay, so that was Gordon, or was it Gordon? Actually, some bloke in London in the bedsit, and that was his actual kitchen. So, a video, rather than a picture showing you 1,000 words, a video can tell us 1,000,000 words. It can inform us, it can entertain us. In fact, now this is a bit of research we did, people spend 1/3 of their time online watching videos. So this is how far social media has come now. We are watching probably more videos on our phones than we are on terrestrial TV or Netflix, etc. So use it. And as I said earlier, it's not expensive to produce. You can go out now and film one of your taxis and have a chat with your driver, ask him how his day was. Put that up. You know, people like looking at local people and local faces. So some more facts. Professional marketeers will use video to grow revenue by 49%, which is faster than non-video users. So a video will potentially bring you 49% more revenue than a display picture advert. 64% of consumers make a purchase after watching branded social videos. So which channels can you use for video? Well, Sinead earlier covered some of the social media channels that are available in the different markets that they appeal to. So the answer is all of them, but think about the channel and the content for such market. Instagram is very young. We've recently started to try TikTok, which tends to be lots of little silly dance videos and so on, but that's huge with the young people. Kids as young as 7 use it, so it's a way to introduce them to the brand. Engage with local crowds. Now, local is focal. Local is what we are. People pick up a local newspaper to look at local stories. Who's in court? Who's been murdered? Who's got married? We like local engagers. So think about, make it local, use local landmarks. You know, just go there and use local thing. So let me just get past that. So thinking about local and thinking about what we said earlier. So video doesn't have to be about booking a taxi. You can embrace the community to enhance your brand. So recently here in the UK, we've been clapping every Thursday night at 8 p.m. for the NHS, for the hospital workers, for the key workers. I'm sure you're doing it in the country where you're sitting at the moment. So we produced a video. Again, it was produced on a phone using some, it's edited with some video, stock video you can download from certain websites, which we'll talk about later. But so this was edited. It received 44,000 views. It's people that actually work for us here at ADT, both here locally, but also our call center in Pakistan, and our one of our accounts ladies works in Romania. So it's staff, drivers, and family of staff. Just simple video of them clapping. So this went out for the first Thursday, and it's been, I think, going out every Thursday with no boost for the last 3 weeks. And so far, 44,000 people have watched this video. So there you go, that went out. Makes me quite sad watching that sometimes. Anyway, you don't always need to shout. When you're making videos or any social media, you don't always need to shout, book a taxi, book a taxi. How many times a day can you actually say that? So make your content engaging, which your customers will enjoy. So if you think back to what Sinead was saying earlier about making it 80% content and 20% call to action. So Sinead also talked something about bananas, wasn't it? About, you know, hitting somebody with a banana. So you don't have to make the content about taxis. Now, this video here was just when the lockdown happened here in the UK, and obviously we were coming to Easter, so you know the kids couldn't go out to the usual theme parks, etc. So obviously a lot of parents were stay-at-home kids, me included. So Phil, who does our social media, came up with the idea that he would do some instruction videos for children specifically. So this video, actually, normally we try and keep majority of our videos to sort of 10-30 seconds. This one went out for 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, which I won't play all of it. But essentially, it's using toilet rolls to make Easter bunnies. I'll play a little bit of this before we move on, but it had 32,000 views. Again, we didn't boost this post. Nothing to do with taxis. Everything to do with our business, caring and sharing for our customers.
Today we're going to learn how to make
toilet roll Easter bunnies.
Oh, they look cute. Step 1, get a toilet roll.
Step 2, cut the end off.
Step 3, you've got to shape the rabbit's ears.
Step 4, you have to cut it in half.
Step 5, we've got to shape the bunny's head by cutting these little corners off.
Step 6, staple the ends in.
This looks tricky. Is it tricky?
No.
It's really quite easy. Yeah, it's not too hard to do this. Step 7, you've got to draw the bunny's face. Oh, don't you think that looks cute? Oh, I look at that. I love bunny rabbits. Do you like bunnies? They're nice, aren't they? With a cute little pink nose. Do you think you could do a better one? You think you can?
Sorry to cut you off there, Phil, with your bunny making expertise. The beauty of that video actually was that we had people sending in pictures of the bunnies they'd made. So Sinead mentioned earlier about having the competitions where you're sending in maybe a picture of a snowman or whatever. So again, it invited audience participation. And again, that's a stock video now in our library. We can churn that out, maybe re-edit it a little bit for next Easter and the Easter after that and the Easter after that. So once you have them, you have those archives. So if there's anything relevant you have, maybe a football club winning a trophy, etc., just bring the video out. So in summary, video is a key part of the mix. It can be affordable. It makes people look at you. It converts viewers into customers. And in 2020, it's simply a must. And here now, we've just as a tag on to this presentation, obviously ADT is our taxi brand, but recently we joined forces with Carboodle to launch our own food delivery app, which is an entirely new brand to the market, and we call that Eat Me. Now, Eat Me, obviously, is competing with companies like Just Eat, Uber Eats, Deliveroo here in the UK, but no one's heard of Eat Me. So we've used social media to build up brand awareness over the last month before going out to meet suppliers to onboard them onto the app. So again, we've used a separate social media pages across all the channels, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn for more professional to contact suppliers. And we've used video to enhance that. So obviously we have here our usual display advert, I call them display adverts, but picture adverts, showing my age there. display adverts. And then we have a variety of videos. Now, the important thing with videos is that you can produce them on your smartphone. You can use a lookalike, or there's a lot of stock video from sites like promo.com, where you pay a subscription for £20 a month, something like that, and you can make 6 or 7 videos. And it's so easy to edit on them and import your logo. There's a JPEG there, stick it in the corner. But again, this one's marketed towards the TikTok audience.
Do you want me to be the one? Do you want me to be the one? Do you want to be the one? Do you want to be the one? Tell me what you want, what you want, what you really want. You want it right now. Do you want it right now?
Okay, and there's different markets again. We've got good old Gordon back here, who's obviously got to build the brand. He's instantly recognizable in the local area. Gives the impression we're kind of national, but we're not. Gives the impression we've got big budget, but we haven't. Again, it was a £300, £400 video, which we can use for the next few years. And if you notice at the top hand right corner of this video, it's a common theme with Caboodle, whether it's City Grab in Sheffield, or whether it's our friends at Blue Line with Balloon Line Grab. We're using this local symbol to symbolize we are local, because local is focal. Local is so important against, especially in this, protecting local businesses, especially in the event we have in the world at the moment.
Right, guys, yes. Listen up, go. So, you're stuck indoors and you're fed up of cooking, yes. I mean, guys, yes. Even I get sick of the sight of my cooker. But guys, yes, there is an answer, right?
Well, that's a hit off there unexpectedly, but don't worry about it. So that's my presentation. Thank you for watching. Sinead, are you there?
I am, David. Thank you very much there. I was getting very comfortable.
You fell asleep there, Sinead, be honest. You fell asleep, didn't you?
I was about to get the popcorn out, but I also almost jumped out of my chair there when I looked at the time when you came on there, because I had totally I'd eat mead on your time there. So I'm sorry, guys, that I went a little bit over on the first presentation. And David, I have a couple of questions for you, but if you don't mind, I'll save them till the end. And for people who are... we're going to just swap back over to our presentation, and anybody that's tuned in, we are definitely going to go over because we're nearly at 5 p.m. GMT here, so please stick around. And if you do have to go, we will be putting the recording of the webinar on the website, so apologies for running a little bit late. We promised you an hour, you're going to get probably an extra 15 minutes or so, but I want to quickly run through some best practices and optimizing your fleet so that we can get chatting to Claire. So best practices for social media, I'm going to whiz through these because they're kind of no-brainers. The first one is to use good visuals and videos. All I mean by that is, if the sound doesn't work in the video, it's a shame that it didn't work out when you shot it, but don't put it up there because that's just going to push your audience off. And likewise, try not to use like blurred photographs and stuff like that, because it's not a good experience for the person that is viewing it. So just be careful. Most people's phones are totally top notch these days. The second thing there, you'll have seen David's brand there, Eat Me, is all over his content. It's about being consistent with your branding. So lots of you guys are already being very careful with this, but just to be mindful to use the same font, the same brand colors consistently across your posts, especially when you're working with graphics like this. If you look at Uber or Lyft or FreeNow or any of these companies on Instagram particularly, where you have a visual grid, you'll see those consistencies just in the size of the logo, the type of photography they use, even when they're using pictures and stuff like that. So just be mindful to keep it consistent. And the same goes for your tone and voice. So just be careful that one day you're not maybe in a fantastic mood and you're cracking loads of jokes, and the next day you're kind of being a bit sluggish and slow and maybe a bit miserable. It's your brand voice, so try and keep that tone the same throughout all of your posting. Very simply, when you want to get found on social media, if people aren't members of your audience, the way to help yourself get found is quite simple. You tag people in your posts. So if I'm inviting a customer onto a webinar, I'm going to tag them on LinkedIn in our post, and that alerts them to the fact that they've been tagged, and they come along and comment and share. And you can do that with your local businesses. You can do that with the local charities or the events that you're taking place, and just make sure that you're letting them know that you're sharing content that relates to them, because they're actually looking for content themselves. So in most cases, they're going to be more than happy for that to have happened and come along and help boost your content. And the same goes with hashtags. So hashtags are really important on Instagram and on Twitter. So what kind of hashtags are people using? And there's really loads of locally specific hashtags. In Dublin, we've got one called Love in Dublin, and that's got a huge following. So people type in Love in Dublin, and anything that's using that hashtag comes up. So if you want your taxi company to come up for people who are Love in Dublin, you will use that in your post. So just think about what hashtags are important to your customers in the post that you're using. This I call the Goldilocks test. So it's about how frequently should you post. You can post too little, you can post way too much, and you can post just right. Posting too little is when you have a very vacuous social media account. And the problem with that is that you're not going to encourage your audience to stick around. And also, particularly on Facebook and Instagram, the platforms are designed with algorithms. So if you leave big, long gaps in between your posting, you just don't hook with the algorithm then the next time that you post. So you're not then put to the top of someone's social media feed. So if you've got your own personal account and you know the stuff that you see at the top, that's all platforms and channels that are doing consistent posting. When you post too much, what you're going to do, when we post too much, what happens there is that you can actually create too much noise. So there's no need to be posting 10 posts every single day from your taxi company. We all know people on social media that post all the time, and actually you just skip over them. So overposting is a problem. Getting it just right, I would say a post a day on Twitter is absolutely fine, and more if you're posting live at a particular event or in a certain news situation. Facebook, Instagram, 3 to 5, and maybe LinkedIn 1 to 3. Don't force it. If you don't have anything to post about, don't post, but do try and make sure that you're keeping it regular. So social media, so far we've talked a lot about posting, but social media is not about broadcasting. It's actually about engaging and interacting. So you need to be creating conversations, and it's a two-way flow. So one, you need to respond to the people on your social media who are commenting on your posts or sending you messages. That's really important. And it's important also not to be consistent with this. So if you're manning your social media, you might want to agree with your team, if there's two or three people looking after it, that you're going to try and respond to people within a certain amount of time. So busy peak times when people are asking about bookings, you probably want to get back in about 10 minutes. But, on other types of inquiries, 3 or 4 hours is a nice kind of service level agreement to have, to make sure that people feel like they're listened to, and to reply to comments that people make when they are responding to your posts. Also, other people are putting content out there too, other local businesses and your customers. So comment on their posts as well, and be proactive in joining conversations, not just starting them. So we will talk quickly about optimizing your social media strategy. And really there are 4 key areas here, and I really am going to hop on over these like the stepping stones that you see in front of you here. The first one is to experiment. You won't know until you try. There are lots of things. David, for example, is experimenting with TikTok right now, and he'll know soon enough whether this is a goer or not. But there are other things, if you haven't started on social media at all, then let's start tomorrow and just experiment with setting up a LinkedIn account or a Facebook account, and just try a couple of things. Your audience will be small at the start, so it doesn't really matter if you make a mistake, and it's all about being human and personable. So what if you do? There are other things you can try. Facebook Live and Twitter Live, that gets you right to the top of people's feeds, because your audience gets an alert to show that you are doing a live post. So really good if you're maybe judging a competition or pulling names from a hat, or maybe you're cutting a red tape or whatever that is, launching a new type of car or branding. So give that a go. If you've got a really big following on Facebook, I would give a chatbot a go as well, so that you're automating responses back to passengers looking for booking. So have a play around with different things that are out there, and see do they work for you or not. Advertising. So I might have a chat with Claire and David a little bit on advertising once we get to our Q&A. But it is difficult these days to build an audience purely on organic reach. So organic is when you put no money behind your posts and you purely just put it out there and hope that people come along and enjoy it and help you to share it. Paid reach on social is where you boost your posts or you run an ad. As I said at the beginning of this, it's very cheap at the moment to run a Facebook ad, and that's purely just down to demand for advertising at the moment during the coronavirus. So even if you just want to run a brand awareness campaign, it's a really good time to try it. But generally, when running an ad, I would try and have a particular CTA in mind. So you're looking for downloads of your app, so you can measure that and then be able to say, you know, we spent £100, we got 10 downloads, so that was worth it. So think about what you want to advertise. The third one then is to analyze. So all the tools, all the platforms have their own metrics and analytics tools attached to them. You can go in and see, you know, demographics about your audience, what posts do the best, what time of day seems to work for you. So have a look around there and try and understand what's working and what's not working. And again, if it's working, do more. If it's not working, do less. And at the very least, understand some metrics to your social media. And particularly if you have someone running your social media for you, you need to be able to measure it some way. So having a couple of metrics or goal targets is really, really good. And finally, you should plan your social media strategy out. So what I mean by this is that, yes, there are plenty of occasions, and probably the best social media posts are the ones that just happen, special moments where you snap something and you really capture something great that's kind of happened. But there's lots of stuff on social media that you can plan. So, you know, as a taxi fleet, you're probably going to do something on Valentine's Day. So have a plan for that, because maybe it is simply that you want a photograph of a driver, but maybe you want a prop. So maybe you want a big red heart that you want all your drivers to take a photograph with, or you want to put in the cars or stickers on the cars. So you need to order that in advance. So I recommend having a really simple calendar, which you just keep on a spreadsheet, which just outlines what you're planning to do week by week and what you need to have set up for that to happen and who you need there. Because obviously, if you've got a photograph planned with the whole team for a particular reason, you need to make sure everyone's coming. So just keep a really simple plan. And I'll actually send you guys a template for a calendar that you can use to run your social media strategy. So finally, you might still want some help, and that's absolutely natural as well. It can be quite daunting. I'm hoping you've learned something from this presentation, even if it's just one or two things to get started or a couple of things to try. There are lots of tools out there that can help you. So David talked about your mobile phone, and that really is becoming a great social media tool, because you can capture video and edit them. Lots of our phones now have mini graphic design elements where you can write on photographs, or you can circle things or do speech bubbles. Another good option for DIY graphic design is Canva. I use it all the time myself, and it's great for branding. You pop in the hex color for your brand, so your particular red or your particular blue, and your font and your logo, and you can add it then to different templates, upload photographs, put text on them, or make grids. Lots of really nice things, create invitations and advertisements and stuff like that. So it's really useful. Other things that you can use are more sophisticated software like iMovie, promo.com. Is that what David mentioned? That sounded like it was quite good. I haven't come across it myself. Shutterstock, if you're looking for stock photographs, is great. Or Upsplash, all free on there if you need images. Hootsuite and TweetDeck, those are platforms that can help you manage your social media. So if, for example, you want to sit down on a Monday and get all your posts together for all of your channels, you can automate it through Hootsuite or TweetDeck. So you might have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn all on one platform, and you can create a post and you can send it out and you can schedule it for Wednesday or Thursday, whatever. So that's a really niche tool, and also it's brilliant for bringing all your social media reports together. So some tools to help you. If you really find social media daunting or you just don't enjoy it, there are people who really enjoy it, like me, which is why I've run over time. So you can find someone in your family or in your business who actually is already personally very involved in social media. So for them, it's a very natural step just to take over yours and have lots of intuition and ideas for how you can promote your fleet on social media. So think about the people around you, and is there someone maybe in the base who actually could spend a couple of hours a week working on social media and might really enjoy it? And then another option is to outsource your social media to a social media and marketing agency. And we have a few of those on iCabbi Marketplace. So there's 11 different categories of partners in the iCabbi Marketplace. One of them is marketing services. So hop on there and have a look and see, would you be interested in contracting that out to someone? And I would say that these guys are professional. They know what they're doing. they also really know the taxi industry. So you'll be in safe hands. I would say when you outsource your content to a social media agency, you're not completely done, because they still need content. They still need someone taking photographs in the base and alerting them to news and stuff that's happening. So be mindful that that is something that you're still going to have to do, but they will be able to organize everything else for you. So somebody who absolutely does not have anything organized for her is Claire Welsh from Wellman Cars. Claire, I'm so sorry that it's taken us this amount of time to get to you. And I know I'm bigging you up here. You're quite adamant on the fact that social media for Wellman Cars is very personal and family oriented. And so for you, it's definitely not something that you outsource, and it's a huge part of your time investment. But I think you enjoy it and you get quite a lot out of it.
Yes, thank you. I'm still very privileged to be asked to take part in this today, Sinead. I was laughing when you first said the Queen of Social Media, because that's what my husband calls me, because he tells me that I'm never off social media. So that's actually nice for someone else to say it in a positive way.
It's definitely a positive. So Claire, you actually have grown. You've been with iCabbi for 3 years. You're based in Hamilton, and you actually share everything on social media, including your iCabbi birthdays, which we absolutely love. So
there's
when you
one
have
coming
an
up soon.
you tag us, and if anyone else wants to tag us on their iCabbi birthday, please do, because we love that and we will reshare it, and we really appreciate it. So happy, and you just had your 3rd birthday as well, I believe.
No, it's coming up. It's coming up on the 13th of June, so don't worry, I'll remind you.
Okay, well, everyone here will see that, because we'll definitely be resharing whatever Claire does. And Claire, you've grown in 3 years. You've grown your Facebook followers from 500 to 10,000.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to talk to you about, 2 things. One of them is your passenger app promotion, and then secondly, I want to talk about COVID-19 and what you guys at Wellman Cars have been doing. So your passenger app, you guys have an automation rate of 66%, which is absolutely brilliant. And unlike some of our customers who get a lot of automation through their IVR, through the voice tools and Voice Plus, yours is predominantly coming from your passenger app, which again is also brilliant. So you have about 12,000 downloads of the passenger app, and you are working in a small enough community. So that is a significant number for you guys. You would credit the automation through the passenger app mainly down to social media, is that right?
Yeah, I would say so. We joined iCabbi in June 2017, and prior to that, probably around about April, when we were in discussions with iCabbi, when we were setting up our training and everything, my husband was worried about getting PDAs purchased and getting the best SIM cards, whereas I was already planning what our strategy was going to be as to how we were going to tell everybody in Hamilton that we were going to get this fantastic app that we were totally blown away by, and we wanted everybody to know about it. So probably in about April, May, we started putting it out there, giving people little bits of hints of what we were doing, giving them little snippets of what was coming up, and it kind of engaged everyone, and it kind of took off from there. Our drivers had the same leaflet that we were putting on the social media. They were having leaflets in their car, they were giving out to customers, and we were just telling everybody as they were phoning up. We were sort of trying to take a few moments to say, you know, coming soon is this new app. So it was the talk of the place for about 6 weeks, and I think from the first couple of weeks that we switched on, Frank Sim could probably tell us better than me, but our automation just went through the roof within the first month, which was just incredible. We weren't expecting it, but it was wonderful to see it had all taken off so well.
So what do you do when you're releasing a new product like that on social media? Like we have a couple of steps there. Can you talk us through the different activities that you go through?
Yeah, so really, to be honest with you, we always try and have it ready for the customer on the social media platform before we launch it. We had an example a few weeks ago when we switched something on that the customers didn't know about, and it just doesn't work the same way. You have to really engage with your customers prior. We take screenshots of how to work something from point A to point B. So if we had like the new passenger app or the new queue booker, we would take a video of one of the staff using it, and we would do like a screenshot sort of collage of pictures. We would also do like a live video, and it's just breaking it down bit by bit so that a customer can see it being used, and they can go back and they can refer back to it if they were struggling to understand it. And we do try and make everything quite clear and simple. You spoke earlier about keeping your brand the same, keeping your logo the same, keeping your colours. We always try and keep everything so that when people see it, they recognise this is a Wellman Cars post. We're going to take a moment to read it. So yeah, it certainly seems to have worked so far. So I don't think we're going to change anything as it is at the moment.
And you do a number of competitions then as well to drive downloads of those apps.
Yeah, certainly. But when the app first took off, when we sort of did a competition, I think it was, this is me trying to go back my memory here, but it was a case of if we see you actively using the app, we will just randomly choose an app booking that comes onto the dispatch, and that customer will get that app hire for free, or they'll get a gift voucher, or they'll get credit or something. So that helped a lot because it got people talking. You know, I downloaded the app and I used it, and I got into the car and the taxi was for free. So that kind of success, if a customer gets something like that, they're going to tell all their friends. So that kind of snowballed, especially in the sort of younger clientele, like your students and things like that. We tried to target them like the first weekend that we had it on, and they were all passing it between themselves and saying, you know, if you download this app. And I think that the simplicity of the app as well, it really helped us to push it out as well. It was easy for young and old people to use.
Okay, so you're not changing anything about your social media strategy, but you are changing your passenger app because you're moving on to the new passenger app.
I am, yes.
So best, you're going to replicate this strategy, and best of luck with that, and we'll be keeping you so Claire, I'd love to talk to you about what you guys have been doing at Wellman Cars over COVID-19, because I don't think I've seen any of our fleets being as busy as you guys. Can you just briefly talk us quickly through some of these posts and what they're related to here?
Okay, so the first one was the colouring in packs, which was the most bizarre thing ever. But what had happened was when the COVID-19 kicked in, we immediately went on to give our drivers quite a substantial discount. We immediately went on to give NHS customers free hires for 8 weeks, a cost of over £8,000. But in with doing that, we got involved with a lot of local community groups that did up because of COVID-19. There's a few local groups in our community, and they were reaching out to families and to children and saying, you know, if you've got nothing to do, we're going to try and help you. We're going to try and, if your kid's got a birthday coming up, we're going to try and help make that birthday extra special. So with doing that, I started to share their ideas onto my page, because we've got a sort of bigger platform than a group that just opened a week ago. And with doing that, I started sharing colouring in download pages that parents could, you know, download themselves in print. And through doing that, some of our customers were then commenting on our social media posts, which I was just sharing for someone else to say, oh, we don't have a printer, or we can't get ink, or blah, blah, blah. So I then, because we were in a position in the office where a lot of us are not as busy as we would normally be, I had said, well, I don't mind printing off some colouring in books and you know, doing that. So the 6 colouring in packs I was asked to do on the first night, it's like 10 separate sheets. It then went on to about 300 colouring in packs. And then it went on to, well, it's Easter weekend, so let's just give the kids a Easter bunny with the colouring in packs. And it was just
more generosity.
Yeah, I think if you were to ask Frank, my husband, about it, I think he could have seen me far enough every single time I had this big pile of colouring in books. And because his knowledge of the area is a lot better than mine, because he did taxi a long time ago for Wellman Cars, so him and I would just be driving about for like 4 or 5 hours at a time, and I would run out, chat the letterbox, leave the colouring in pack. And for me, that was a lovely experience for us, because it was getting us out into the community and seeing, you know, everyone's how thankful they were that you're their taxi company, but because you're not being of service to them right now, this is the best way that we can help them. And it was lovely. It was. I was really touched quite a few of the times, because on one of the visits,
It sounds very much like you've got the
Yes.
personal touch there. I'll just briefly talk on these ones, so we can get to some of our questions. But here we
Sure.
have this guy here. It's a talent competition, so you're doing
Yeah, Riley.
yeah, Riley, and he's done his own, designed his own doctor's uniform.
Yeah.
So you're encouraging talent and you're showcasing local heroes who are stepping up in
Yes.
Hamilton to help the local community, which is brilliant. You've also got a big post here, which again is probably one aimed at the drivers, and it's all
Yep.
around driver safety. I think
And
you
the
guys got
customers.
some driver shields in, and you're talking
Yep.
about the different precautions that you're taking, which is great.
Yep.
Here you've got donations come. That's Marley, your dog, right?
Yeah.
He's so
He was
cute.
wanting a cupcake. Yeah, that was just a thanks from one of the local groups for all the things that we were doing to help. So that was nice to be appreciated
So
like
talk
that.
to me, so by doing all of this kind of community initiatives, it then gives you that audience that when you do want to promote something about Wellman Cars, it comes in and it gets lots of likes and attention. So here's just a couple that I pulled from your page over the last week or so.
Okay.
So the first one is, you did actually have a massive NHS initiative at the beginning of this, and I know that you guys have spent about £14,000 in overall since this started in charity initiatives. You're now still offering £5 off for NHS workers, but this post in a way is also letting people know that you are open for business. So yes, you're helping the NHS, but anyone else who needs a spare. And this one here, you're telling people, so this is an example of what you did with the passenger app. So you're telling people that you now have advanced IVR, so that people aren't surprised when they ring you guys up, or that drivers know about it. So you've obviously taken us up on the Voice Plus offer.
Just last
and again,
week.
Yeah, you're busy with everything, Claire. So you've got the Voice Plus offer. I think you're talking to Caboodle it. You've got Siolo. You're doing everything. But just before we bring David back in, just to do a quick Q&A. Can you tell me a little bit about the response that you're getting to all of this activity, and particularly from your drivers? Because I know that as much as your social media needs to promote to passengers and get bookings, it's also absolutely crucial to keeping your driver numbers up and attracting new drivers. So what kind of response have you been getting?
Well, Frank and I have noticed over the past year or so, because we have taken so much to do with social media, and especially in the last few weeks, the response from the drivers has been phenomenal. The drivers, I find, actually share and comment on the posts more than anyone else does sometimes. They certainly see what we're doing, they see why we're doing it, they understand why we're doing it, and I firmly believe us the continued, response from them, that they're sticking with us, and I also think that between the lines, it's kind of letting other people who are at other neighbouring companies maybe looking outside, looking in and thinking, oh, they seem to be doing all these things, and that's putting them in a sort of good platform. So yeah, that's not why I'm doing it, but it's always a good thing, because you're always wanting to look after your own drivers, and I certainly think that they do feel that just now, that they are well looked after.
And Claire, you were telling me a story. You're probably being a little bit modest here now, because you were telling me a story yesterday without this wide audience about the drivers being so happy that you are getting contacted, because I know you've reduced, or you waived their driver fee just for a short period, and you're being contacted by family members of the drivers or themselves, and you're receiving soaps and chocolates and flowers in thanks.
Flowers and chocolates.
Isn't that
Which
wonderful?
Really isn't necessary. It is. It's lovely, and I do treat all our drivers as an extended family. Sometimes I could probably not say that some Saturday nights when I kind of lose the rag with them, but they've certainly turned my opinion around, and they've certainly did really well over the last few months. So that's been nice to see.
And that's brilliant. And I know you had one driver who called you to say that his friend wants to move from Wellman Cars, and you've been very fair, because you said that he's more than welcome, but not before your own drivers get back out on the road.
Exactly. Yeah, no, definitely. There is quite a few drivers who are still shielding for their own personal choice or their own family safety. So we have to sit back and allow them to make that choice, and then obviously when this is all over, then we will see where we are.
Okay, brilliant. So look, we'll move on to our Q&A now, and I'll bring Claire, you stay where you are, and we'll bring David back on. So a couple of questions have come in. One came in earlier, and that was from Ivan, what if my staff don't want their faces being used on social media? Should I just pull the family card? No, I think that's just for Claire. I'm afraid, Ivan, if they don't want to be on social media, you can't force it. It's only acceptable if they are your sons and your daughters. And Ivan has actually also sent in some good suggestions here. So for different tools, Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, After Effects. I think Ivan must be quite techy in advance, because those tools are excellent, but also used by the pros. So definitely, if you are adept at those, they're brilliant. But some of the other ones are a little bit DIY and easier to use. But certainly, those are top notch. So they're great suggestions. David, if you're there, can I ask you, this question has come in from Joe, and Joe, I don't recognize your name, so thank you for joining us. You're very, very welcome. How much would you recommend spending a month on advertising?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Before social media, we used to spend a percentage of our revenue on traditional advertising, newspapers, leaflets, and so on. But I mean, for us, because we're quite a large firm, we're spending about £1,800 a month on it, with creativity, boosting posts, etc., etc. But I mean, to be honest, you know, £500-600. I know there's agencies out there that will do the work for you for that sort of money. Or like was brought up earlier, you know, it can cost you nothing, because it could just be a family member or somebody that's passionate about social media, somebody in the office that is on it all the time, that let them have a go, as long as the branding is unified, you know, across the board. So it's really as much as you want to spend, but we put most of our budget now into social media.
And how much would you spend on boosting posts? Would you have a budget per month, or would you just depend on what your...
Yeah, it depends. It depends. We don't really have a budget, because you can spend £20 or £50 or £80. It's trial or by error. Sometimes, you know, there's certain things that you can take advantage of that happen outside your window or in the local area. For example, if the train's go on strike, that you can quickly put a post out there and boost it, so people know, well, there's an alternative. So really, you know, and it's very cost effective, and as you pointed out, Sinead, it's very cheap as well at the moment.
It is, so it's a good time to experiment. I'm not sure this is a question, but a comment in from Julia. Drivers are drivers not hesitant to work during COVID-19? It's not the same in Montreal. It's difficult to get them out because of the fear. I think that absolutely is the case, Julia, for most of our fleets as well. But I think for social media, maybe you might be able to show that your company is promoting and is willing to support health and safety initiatives. And also, it's probably just that brand awareness piece that your drivers can see that you're actively engaging with community, and, you know, trying to create work for them for when they do come out of COVID-19. So I know, you know, pre-coronavirus, drivers would often choose what fleets they'd want to work for based on the amount of advertising that they see, because they would assume that the more that a fleet is advertising or being out there and marketing, the more bookings they're going to get. So I think marketing to your passengers, the flip side to that is that your drivers are also seeing it, and it kind of builds their expectation of the bookings they're going to get. So I guess social media, not necessarily for drivers who are getting them out at the moment, but certainly to try and encourage them back in due course. They will think, like this guy who wants to move to Claire's company. Claire, question for you. I have not done much social media, but would like to get involved. Where should I start? What's your advice?
I would definitely start with Facebook. I've always used Facebook, probably about 8 years on a personal level. And I would say that I only really started on Instagram about a year ago, because one of my children set it up for me. Twitter, I'm not a huge user of. LinkedIn, I've only been on a year. So I think Facebook, because you can use videos, you can use pictures, you can actually engage one-to-one more with people. That's just my personal choice, but I would definitely say Facebook would be the first social media site I would use.
Okay. What happens if someone gives you a negative comment on social media? I think this is something that people are quite afraid of, but I suppose you shouldn't put your fears like in front of the opportunity that social media is there. So I've got a phrase I often use, which is that you can turn lemons into lemonade. And I think a really good example, you often see this, well, not at the moment because nobody is staying in hotels, but I'm sure you've all heard those stories of these bad reviews on TripAdvisor, and they can go one way or the other. So someone comes in, they have a bad experience, they put a review on TripAdvisor, and the hotel manager comes upstairs, bangs on the door and demands that they leave the hotel because they're infuriated. Therefore, another review goes up and it's terrible. Or a hotel manager gets wind of it, tries to understand the problem, apologizes, fixes it, and is very human in explaining why the error was. And the person then revokes their review and actually turns around and explains why the customer service was so good. And the same thing can happen with fleets. So someone might give you a bad review. And if it's a genuine bad review, I think take it on the chin, apologize.
Yeah, you appreciate it.
But Claire, you had an incident recently, I think, didn't you? Where someone posted a comment about your use of driver shields in the car. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we had a post just last week where we had put our post on to advise our customers that we were taking the safety seriously. We had got shields fitted, partitions fitted in the cars, and then another taxi company decided to share our post and state that this was an illegal thing that we were doing, etc., etc. But fortunately, once I was able to, within about 30 seconds, produce the documentation to support what we had said in our post, the insurance had okayed it, the council had okayed it, he ended up looking rather silly. That post itself generated about 100 shares. But going with your comment, if somebody does put a comment on our news feeds and it is negative, I will jump straight on it and I will try to get to the problem and try and resolve it right away. And we do also explain to customers that we would rather that they took the time to go through our customer complaint procedure, so it's more personal rather than them putting all their information over social media. But I'm very quick to jump on it and try and resolve it as quickly as I can. You have to take that on board when you are on social media, unfortunately.
It comes with the territory, guys. I'm going to take one more. I'm going to take one more question because we're massively over time. This is a good question, actually, David, or Claire, whoever has an answer to this. Should we have a separate page for our drivers? So I assume this person is talking about, a closed page.
I've just got one actually recently. That's funny because when COVID-19 kicked off, I actually had opened my very first driver page, and I have about half of my drivers on it, and it's actually okay. I actually thought it was going to be my worst nightmare, but it's a good way of communicating as a group. So I personally would have one, but I maybe wouldn't have had one a few years ago. But I think we're in a good place at the moment. We're all working together. So if you were going to have it, I would maybe have it just now.
Okay, and what about you, David? Do you guys have one at ADT?
Yeah, we've had one for a few years. We tend to use it if we've got new tech. We put little videos on there, how things work. And as I say, we were a bit nervous, but generally it's positive feedback on there. It's just for using announcements, or some drivers offer each other advice. If they don't understand how the driver app works, if they're new, then they're very helpful. So it is very much a community page that obviously only drivers can access. So it's a great way, as Claire says, great way of communicating.
Okay.
I often add their wives accidentally, Sinead, which is a good thing, because sometimes the husbands will say that they didn't make money or this. So accidentally I'll come across their wife and I'll say, oh, just add her. So that's been quite exciting the last few weeks, let me tell you.
I didn't finish work until 12. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, guys, I'm going to have to call the Q&A there. I'm really sorry, but Mark, Christopher, Lee, Laura, I can see your questions there, and I will come back to you separately, and thanks. And I'm sorry we haven't got a chance to answer them, but we are totally over time. So thank you, guys. I would ask everybody to please help us out. I'm going to launch a quick poll here. The reason we're doing the poll is simply so we can figure out what kind of content is working or not working for you guys. So let us know whether or not this webinar was useful, and we use these results then to decide whether we do more webinars on marketing or whether we look at a different area. So please just fill out the poll there, and I'll just leave it up for a minute or so. And while I'm doing that, I would just say, guys, let's get social. We spent a lot of time talking about it today, so let's put it into action. iCabbi is on Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter, and you'll find us under the tag at iCabbi. I'm going to put up a post after this, just thanking everyone for coming to the webinar, and particularly to thank Claire and David, who've been brilliant panelists today. And I'll tag their companies in that post, so you'll be able to go on and follow their social media and see what they're getting up to. So please jump on social media in about 30 minutes and join in the conversation on those threads. You can give us some more feedback, let us know what you thought of the webinar, or if you have any additional questions, you can pop them on there and I'll add them to my FAQ list and come back to you guys as well. So finally then, what's new at iCabbi? I'll take the poll down, and thanks everyone for taking part in that. Finally, we have a couple of new items up on our COVID-19 resource hub. So there's a great article there by anyone, in case you haven't seen it. It's by Frank Sims, who is one of our customer success reps. He's done a brilliant article which looks at different types of software that you can use to help streamline your organization. So that's everything from, things you might already be familiar with, like Sage and Slack, to different types of tools that you can use to help with your marketing or your accounting or your HR. And it's really worthwhile going on and having a look at that. And we also have coming up, yes, Kyle is on our webinar. Hi, Kyle. So Kyle Summers, one of our customers in ODT over in North Virginia, did an excellent webinar with us 2 weeks ago, which many of you guys will have been on, all about the iCabbi API, which, as you know, we focus on our core products, and we have an open API which allows you guys to build onto our platform to do the many different things that you need to specifically build to enhance your business. So tomorrow we'll be sharing an email around with you guys, which has Kyle's webinar, but it also has a full ebook about getting started with the API. So it covers everything from API documentation, which is for the techies, that's code-based API development. And we also have workflow automation, scenario-based API, which is mainly what Kyle looks at. So we've got a couple of different exercises for you guys to look at there, which are great, and also a look at some of our API integrated marketplace partners. So keep an eye out for that as well. Tomorrow, everybody on this webinar is going to receive an email from me, which is going to include the recording of this webinar. We also have an ebook that accompanies this webinar. So I think it's a 30-page ebook which goes in more detail into some of the points that we talked about, minus the case studies of the guys, unfortunately, but it does have the rest of the structure in there. And I'm also going to give you guys a template for a social media calendar. So keep an eye on your email tomorrow and you will receive that. But for now, for me, it's just to say thanks again to our panelists and to all of you guys for attending. Stay safe and take care, and we'll see you on social.